Hi, everybody. Tiffany, founder and executive director of Crafting Change. I want to welcome everybody to our Sunday night sip and sew. Afternoon here in Oregon, evening on the East Coast. I want to welcome everybody no matter where you are. And Kathy Lawrence always hosts these wonderful classes. And I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Kathy. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks, everybody, for spending part of your Sunday with us. Tonight's going to be our last class on winter wear. If you've already been making winter wear hats and want to change it up a little bit, then you'll like tonight's class. We're going to show 3 variations on winter wear hats. I'm going to show a fleece balaclava and a sewn fleece earflap hat. And my very special guest, Kim Damon, is going to show us how to add crocheted ear flaps onto a regular crocheted hat. So I can't wait for that. Right now we have about 5 partner charities that are requesting sewn, knitted, and crocheted warm winter hats. Hope Mountain needs them for infant sizes through adults. Mental Health Resource Center in Florida and CareCorps Vegas wants them for their homeless outreach programs. And East River Foster Parent Network in South Dakota is requesting for their kids ages 5 through 10. Knit the Rainbow also wants them, but just knitted or crocheted, not any sewn for them at this time. So I think when I added them all up yesterday, we were somewhere close to about 1,000 pieces still needed. So we still got a little ways to go. But you guys have been just super wonderful in making and donating. And please know that our partner charities are so very thankful for you. You've been instrumental in helping to change lives. And thanks to all of you. You are so very great, and we appreciate each and every one. Truly, thank you. So let's start with a balaclava. So what is a balaclava besides the funny word that you have trouble saying? Well, balaclava is a close-fitting garment that covers the head and the neck and part of the face. It helps to hold the warmth in because the head is covered, and so the heat doesn't escape from the top of the head. Now, I've seen them where they come up and leave just the eyes open, but we've decided on this pattern to leave most of the face open for 2 reasons. One is for safety, because we're recommending it to make it out of fleece. So if you have 1 or 2 layers of fleece over your face and nose, that could be a hindrance for obviously breathing. And the other reason is we don't want people to mistake this or use this for a COVID face mask. It does not replace a COVID face mask. But these are really simple and easy to do. You could just sit down and crank out a bunch of these. Got the fuzzies on my hair, right? So this is the one. I just started doing them in 2 tones. I think the green's kind of cool on the back. And I've done the little leopard that's got the black on the back. Oh, there's a fuzzy. So you can use it in different colors together, or just make one and all the same color. This is one of the kids' sizes that's just all made from the same. And the pattern is really easy. Tiffany is going to throw either a link or the document that has the links on it into the chat. So you'll be able to find where these patterns are and the instructions are to make them. Now, this for the children is a kid's balaclava. This is Charmed by Ashley pattern. And the link will show you that you've got a tutorial where you can go see the tutorial on it. There's also a YouTube video. So if you go to the links, you can either go see the written out instructions or go to the video. And your pattern will come in 2 downloads. Either you're going to download, well, no, this pattern is a 1 download, I'm sorry. And it is both for ages 3 to 5 and 6 to 10. And I'll show you how that works. It comes and you cut out the 4 different pattern pieces, and the pattern pieces has this little shaded part on it, and that's where you're going to match it up to the other pattern piece. You see both of those say D, so you're going to overlap those 2 Ds and you're going to tape those together. I'm going to do it real quick. Same way with the other one, we've got an AB and a BC. So you just take your B and put it over that overlap here on the B and tape that section together. And now you've got the top and the bottom. And guess what? Now you put the other two pieces together and tape those together. And you've got the whole hat pattern. And that's all that is. But what I wanted to show you is on this pattern, it'll say sizes 3 to 5, cut a 19 by 3 3/4. Sizes 6 to 10, cut a 19 by 4 1/4. And this is referring to the third piece that you need, which is just that strip that goes down the back. Okay, they're not going to give you a pattern piece for that. You just have to cut that by measurements. So what you'll have is you'll have this that you're going to cut 2 pieces out of, one for either side, and then cut by measurements this third piece according to what size of kids you're sewing it for. Okay, and I figured that you can get probably about 3 across on the width of your fabric. I know you can get 3 of the adult sizes across. You might be able to get 4. So you can use about 15 inches for the face, and then use another about 5 inches for that center portion that goes down the back. So it doesn't take a lot of material at all. Now for the adults, I've drafted our own crafting change pattern by trial and error, and that's going to come in 2 separate links. There'll be a link for piece A and a link for piece B. And on this, you're just going to match up those diamonds and then cut it out. And I've got instructions on here that tells you to match it up, cut out A and B, and then cut 2 of these. And then for the adult size, you're going to cut the strip 5 inches wide by 20 inches long for the back strip. So there's links for these for the adults also. And when that is all pieced together, that looks like this. So it's a very, very simple pattern. It doesn't take hardly any time at all to sew, and so we're going to do one in a second, but I want to talk about material. We know that there's different weights of fleece, and I am really keen on this anti-fleece, can't talk tonight, on this anti-pill fleece from Joann's. This is part of the selvage. It's going to say either anti-pill on the selvage or on the end of the bolt. And I like it because it's a little nicer quality, but yet it has the stretch that we need for this pattern. This pattern, we need stretch because it needs the stretch to go over your head to fit nice. So this is anti-pill, and you see that it's got some good stretch and recovery to it. Now I've tested this pattern out with the Luxe, and the Luxe is really kind of tight. If you had Luxe, you probably could use it, but you'd have to enlarge your pattern to make it big enough to pull over the head. And there's not a lot of recovery to this. So I would recommend that we stay with our anti-pill or sweatshirt fleece, but just test it because we're going to need some good stretch to go over the head. Okay. Now that we've got our patterns and our fabrics together, I think I'm going to move my camera down so you can see what we're doing with the rest of this. So hang on a second. Let me move this down and we're going to start sewing one. It's going to go really quick. Okay. There we go. Now, once you've got your pieces cut out, what you're going to have is you're going to have obviously the one, both sides of your head, one right side, one left side, and you're going to have one strip that's the back panel. And so that's all this pattern is. I didn't make any of them double because I thought the double was just like really warm, but I bet you could but it's not what I had in mind when we picked out this pattern, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. So basically what you're going to do is just take this back panel and clip it all the way down to the sides of the two sides. So you're going to have this side seam here for the one side of the head. Then you're going to stitch the side seam here for the other side of the head. And then just come around to the front and stitch this front seam. And you're going to have the hat basically put together at that point. Okay. And now before you go any further, remember to come back and take your scissors and grade your seam allowances all along where you've stitched. You don't want to cut it so close that you cut through your stitches, but you want to make it trimmed and so that they're not real thick and bulky inside of the head. Now, I think we've talked a lot about what kind of stitches that we use when we're sewing, but I wanted to show you something. Every machine is going to be different. So you guys have to really go to your machine and test out the different stitches and see what you like, see what works, what doesn't work. For my machine, I like using just a real little zigzag. That's the one over here on the side. It's just a little narrow zigzag, but still it's got a lot of give to it. And that's my stitch of choice to be able to sew the straight seams, okay? And now for a decorative seam, like something on the bottom, when you're turning it up and hemming the bottom, or turning in the face and hemming the face, I played with several different stitches on my machine. And this one over here is like a little X with a box in it. And this is almost like a flat lock stitch. If you've ever seen a serger that has a flat lock capability, this is almost like a flat lock stitch. So this one worked out really cool to do the hemming. Now this was like a double diamond that I thought would work well, but I need to caution you when you're playing with your stitches, this double diamond goes back and forth a lot. It comes back and forth as it's working its way down the seam. And you want to avoid those. You don't really want to use this one because anything that goes back and forth as it's going down the seam is going to stretch out your fleece and cause it to be wavy. So that was a good experiment with my machine to find out that that one doesn't work. And now the zigzag or a 3-step zigzag was good because it had enough width to go across the turn up on the hem. And this was kind of like a serpentine stitch that I had that worked real well. But everybody test your stitches. And once you find out what you like, write it down somewhere. The side to side is okay. The forwards and backwards makes it distorted. But what I'm trying to aim for, and hopefully you can see it on here, this is a turned up hem. And let me get the right side. And the hem is turned up. And right here is the edge of the hem. And what I'm aiming for is one that goes over and back and encases this raw edge of the hem. So the hem is not flipping up and sticking up. This just makes it nice and smooth and nice and flat. And so you go back and forth and cover that cut edge of the hem, and it makes a really nice finish. And again, if you do it in a zigzag stitch or that box stitch, whatever you choose to do, it just makes it look nice. But this was my samples that I did on my machine, so I could tell which one I wanted. But we're trying to avoid just turning it up and top stitching it and leaving a little bit of that hem sticking up, because that probably more than likely is going to irritate the wearer. So test your stitches. Once you figure out what you like, write it down, because hey, if you're like me, you can forget things pretty easily. My preferred stitch is a zigzag. I use a width of a 2.0, a length of a 4.0, and I lower my presser foot tension to 4.0. Now, presser foot tension as it was pointed out last time, is different from your thread tension that's on the front of your machine. You're not messing with your thread tension unless you have to. Most of today's machines are automatic. So you don't have to mess with your thread tension, but my machine has a setting where I can loosen the presser foot tension a little bit. If you've had an older machine, sometimes it's that silver dial up on the top, but you need to be very careful and make a mark of where it was, like maybe put a little piece of tape or a little magic marker on there, so you know what the common setting was before you start twisting away on it. Because if you get it off, it's going to be a headache to get it back. So if you're confident that you can turn this back to where it was, go ahead and make a mark and see if you can loosen it. But if not, then maybe just use a walking foot, or maybe use a helper like this stylus, this stiletto. I use this to help me through the machine. And also this purple thing, I use that to help push the material through the machine, and I can get her done pretty good. Now, I think I saw a question there about the fleece. Fleece does not fray, which is what I love about it. So when you're doing a hem, you don't have to turn it over and then turn it over again. You can just flip it up one time and then go ahead and stitch over it, and it's done. Same way as when you're sewing your seams. This is just a one zigzag down here, trim close, and I don't have to do anything to finish the edge on it. So that's why fleece is so much fun, is it doesn't fray, and you can take some shortcuts with it. Now, this is the hood, and I've just got that turned under, and this is where you would use one of your over stitches that you can stitch over and back to flatten it down. And that slight curve there, after you get it pinned, you can just put a little bit of a roll on it, and it'll just gently roll right in. You're not going to want to pull on this or pull it through the machine, because that makes it wavy. So don't do that. But this is a very simple one to sew. I got something I forgot to tell you earlier. When you're matching up your cut face here with this inset that goes in the back, I always start up here at the top of the face curve when I'm sewing this in. And I'm sewing it in, and I come to the bottom. I do the same here, start sewing here, come to the bottom, because when I allowed for this 20 inches for this strip, it is going to be a little bit longer. So don't freak out that you did something wrong. When you come down to the end, it's black on black, you can't see that. And you see how this back panel is further out than what the edge of the hat is. Here's the bottom of the hat, and here's the back panel. That's just so that we've got enough room to make it all line up. So when you get ready to stitch that, and after you have that in there, just take your scissors and cut off the excess, and then keep on going. Okay, so don't panic that you've done something wrong, because that 20 inch measurement is a good amount. You are going to have some extra, so just cut it off. And that's about all there is to this hat. I really like the two tones. I think this would be a great project for using up some of your scraps. And let's see, I want to show the one I was playing with today. Okay, come here. Remember those gloves? And we did the gloves that we put the band on the bottom of the fleece gloves. Well, I played with that and did that with the opening, and it came out really cool. But if you're going to do this, use about a 2-inch strip. You can't see, it's on black, isn't it? Use about a 2-inch strip, sew it to the front, roll it over, and then stitch in the ditch, So you've got it sewn down. And then I decided to go back and stitch another row of stitching about a 1/2 inch away to keep this from rolling outwards. And it really does hold it down nice. And then on the inside, I just went back and I trimmed off the excess. And so I've got a double stitch. Here's the stitch in the ditch, and down there's the next stitch. But I kind of like the way this one turned out. So if you want to play around with it, I just like the way this one feels. This looks pretty good coming around, and it fits well. And so I guess I just want to tell you, don't be afraid to play around a little bit with what you're doing, because that's half the fun, I think, with your colors and mixing your colors. And this band on here looks kind of cool, and it makes that sturdy. So if somebody's pulling this on and off, it's going to give it some reinforcement. Now I have seen some patterns too, where they go ahead and they cut this longer here and longer in the back and have it come up over the shoulders so it can be tucked inside of a coat. I think this has got a nice little band to it. But if you wanted to do something like that, that's fine too. So this is your basic balaclava, perfect for your warm climates, perfect for your moderate climates, perfect for your cold climates. We've got 3 different sizes that you can make it in, and they work up really fast. And so that one's a surprise. That's a surprise favorite. I like that one. Now, the next one I'm going to show, it's so easy, I'm not even going to demo it. It's called the Earflap hat. And this is a fleece spun hat, fleece spun with ear flaps by Fleece Spun. Here, my buddy's got it on. I don't know, it looks like kind of an old-fashioned football helmet, doesn't it? And all this is the pattern is a multi-size pattern. 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 8 to 12. And then there's one for an adult range of sizes. And it's the one pattern. You just find your cutting line for the size that you're doing. And for the hat on the outside, you use the full pattern for the back. And then you cut this out here and cut one for the front. So I have made this in a double like this. And I've also made it in a single where I just went around and hemmed this. And the single worked out just great. I sent a bunch of those, I think, to Florida. But the double would be so nice and warm for our cold climates. So this is very versatile pattern too. And this is the one that is on your sheet called the Fleece Hat with Ear Flaps by Fleece Spun. Okay. Now my last one that I'm going to show is the Fleece Hat with Flaps by Crafty, Gemini. And of course, I am attracted to this one because I'm a Gemini, so she really got my interest. And there's a tutorial that's on your sheet that you can go to. It's the craftygemini.com. There's also a link to download the pattern there. And there's going to be a pop-up to fill in for the download. But you'll fill it in and then click it, and instantly you can pick out your pattern. But she doesn't send any spam or email. Or you can go to the YouTube video that's on your link sheets. And if you go to the YouTube video, there's a link to the patterns in the description box under the video. And we've got on this one, I think this one's got 2 different, let's see. Yes, whoops. This one has 2 different sizes that you can download. One is a child size and one is an adult size. So for a teenager on up, I would probably go with the adult size. And all this is 2 pieces. This is what you get. You'll get 2 pieces for the adult, or if you pick the child, you get 2 pieces for the child. And remember that you want to test your 1-inch square when you print to make sure it prints out at the regular normal size that you need. So when you print it, you want to print it at 100%. Don't choose fill the page and don't choose print to page. Choose the 100% and then test your 1-inch square to make sure it printed out correctly. But the only thing you got to do with this one is you've got to match up this extra little end with this. And let me show you. After you cut that out, you'll have these pieces. Okay. And then you'll have this piece and this piece. So this piece I just straightened off. And then you just find where this black line ends and you match it up and you tape it together. And this is your band that has the ear flaps. And if you notice on here, this says to put this on the fold. So you'll put this on the fold and then go ahead and cut this out. And this is your band. So you're going to cut out, whoops, there it went. You're going to cut 4 of those triangles out for the top and 1 of the other for the bottom. So you're going to end up having 4 of these. And there's going to be 4 of them for the outside of the hat and 4 of these for the inside of the hat, and then 2 bands. Okay. Now the first thing that I would do is with your fleece, I'm going to shoot myself down again here. Okay, there we go. First thing that you want to do with your fleece is you want to find what is the right side, what's the wrong side. Now, if you remember, if you gently tug on the edge, it'll roll to the wrong side. So see how this one is rolling? It's curling over to the wrong side. So you take your marking chalk or whatever you use and put a big mark on the wrong sides so that when you're putting all of these together, you don't have them mixed up. Sometimes it's easy to see. Sometimes on the prints, it's not easy. So I just go through and mark all of mine on the wrong sides. So we've got it and there's no confusion. Okay, now you're going to have 4 of these little squares. Let me come back to the print because I think that one might show up easier. Oh, wait, we'll use this one. You're going to have 4 of these, and this is going to be the top of the hat. So what I would do is take one of these, fold it in half, and then put a mark where your top is. Put a mark of where that very top is on your point. Okay. Put your right sides together. And there's really no guide on there that tells you where you're supposed to start sewing. But I wanted to try to show you here. Let me get my pointer. First time I did this, I started in about here and sewed, and that didn't work. So really what you need to do is find your center and then start about here and just sew right into it around that curve. So you want to start just a little bit past that center and start off and then sew. And I'm going to put one together. I got too much gathered up here, don't I? Okay. So we're matching it up, and I'm going to start just a little bit past where that front. And again, use your purple thing or your stiletto and help push your material through. And it shouldn't shift on you too bad because these are smaller pieces. Okay, so here's my two together, two by two, and then you take your 2 by 2s, you put them together. But first, I'm going to come back and trim off some of this excess. Almost forgot. And then put these 2 by 2 together with the right sides together. And at the top where that seams meet, I just make one go this way and make one go that way. So I don't have a big clump right at the very top. And then I go ahead and pin that down. And when I'm sewing this, this is kind of something that you're going to probably eyeball when you get there, but I know you can do it. I just want to show you real quick. Can you see at the top what I'm looking at? You see how this top edge comes and it comes down and then it comes up? Well, that's going to look like a little dimple on the top of your hat if you follow that exactly. So what I try to do is I try to sew and cut this curve a little bit so I'm coming as straight as I can across this head. I'm going to come up here and then come in just a little bit so I cut that curve off so I don't get a funny looking dimple. Okay, so I'm going to sew that and show you how it looks like when I get back. And I've tried this probably a dozen different ways, and there's really not a hard and fast rule in telling you how to sew that together. So you just kind of sometimes just got to wing it and go with what the fabric is telling you. Yeah. Murphy's Law says if you're going to have a problem, you're going to have it in front of a live class. So there we go. So as I'm coming up here, I'm going to come down just a little bit and make this go as straight across as I can. And then I'll go back and just trim that off. And actually, we're talking about just fractions off of the hat. We're not talking about any amount of real estate that's going to make a difference in how it fits, but it's just going to make a little bit of difference in how it looks. So, can you guys see what I did? See how this is, seam allowance is a little bit bigger right here than it is over here? That's because I'm gentling out that curve. Okay, so I'm going to come and trim that down. And this is your basic top of the hat. And you can see it's got a little bit of a dimpling to it, but it's not real bad. Usually that's about how that fleece works. So you're going to do this twice, once for the inside, once for the outside. And when you get to the band part, you're just going to take the band and sew that back together with a 1/4 inch seam. And this is going to be, I'm going to move this so you guys got more room to see. There we go. You're going to stitch this as your back seam. because this front was on the fold. So just remember your front's on the fold and the stitch seam is the back. And next you're going to put the band on the hat. So the easiest way that I know is just to hold this in your fist in here, and then go ahead and slide this over the top of it. And you want right side to right side. Take one of these seams on your hat and line it up with with your back seam on the band. Again, have one of the flaps going this way, one of the seams going this way to reduce the bulk. And then what you would do is go ahead and clip this around, and then go ahead and stitch that on the band onto the top of the hat. Let's see, I've got another one. I got too many pieces here. Here we go. So you've got something like this. And this is one of the hats done. See, I've got my flap down. I've got the back seam lined up with one of the seams on the hat. And so you just do this twice. You do once for the outside and once for the inside. And then the next step is just putting them together. Take one, stick it inside the other one. So I've got the lining for the inside of the hat here, and I've got the outside of the hat in here, and I've got the right sides together. Now at this point, before you stitch these two together, there's two things to remember. If you want to make a pigtail and add it to your hat, this is where you would do that. And to make a pigtails, you cut material 1 inch wide, anywhere from 8, 9, 10, 11 inches, however long you want it. And remember, if you're not sure, you can make it long and go ahead and braid it up. And if it's too long, you can just cut your fleece off after you have it in there. So if you're not sure, don't worry about it. You can adjust it after you get it sewn in. But what I like to use is I like to use 3 pieces aside, because that's how you can braid. And I like 2 of the colors and 1 of the solid. So I'll take a sandwich of those, and at the very top, I'll pin all those layers together. And those just get sewn inside the ear flap as you're sewing. So on my hat, I've got it pinned together, and you can see on my flap where I've inserted the pigtail and pinned it up, got it clipped up. So when I sew this ear flap, I sew the pigtail in there. And that's about as hard as what that needs to be. That's not hard at all. You don't have to add a pigtail. Pigtails are cute for kids and ladies, and I'm not sure if a lot of the guys would rock a pigtail, but you never know. So if you're making a bunch of these, just do a variety, because, you know, humans come in all different shapes and sizes, and what some would like, maybe the other ones won't like. So, you know, I try not to make them all the same. I make a wide variety of different color combinations, some with pigtails, some without. And that way, you know that they've got a variety to choose from. Now, the other thing to remember when you're sewing your hats together is that at some place in the back, you're going to leave a spot open. You're going to leave a spot open that you're not going to sew, about a 2-inch wide spot that you're not going to sew. And you're going to sew all the way around, but leave this open, because then that's where that will get turned right side out. Okay. So after you've sewn that and turned it right side out, that's what you got. You got your hat with the pigtails. And then I just hold this part in order to braid this. I put this part underneath my presser foot, and put my presser foot down so it holds it. And then I go ahead and I braid it. And when I get it as long as what I want it, I'll just put a pin or a clip in it. And then what I just did is I just sewed across here and then just kept that floppy. I've seen it where people will also take it and tie another one of these around the bottom. So it's really whatever the mood strikes you. This is an unusually long one. And so if I was to do this again, I'd probably shorten it up a couple inches. But like I said, you don't know what people like. Go ahead and make a variety and you'll have something for everybody. Okay. Well, I kind of muddled through that one tonight. And do we have questions that I didn't answer yet? Except this does look like an old time football helmet, doesn't it? It's got the seams on it, but yet it's got the band. And I got my little pigtails.
Amazing.
And believe me, this is really nice and warm. So do we have questions on this?
There's no questions in the chat. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and ask a question? It looks amazing and warm and snuggly. And it does not look as difficult to sew as I thought it would.
No, Fleece is very forgiving. There's one other at the very bottom of your sheets with the links on it. I prepared a document that's got fleece hat sizing, and embellishments. It's a 2-page sheet. And on the first sheet, it just gives you, if you're like wanting a specific age group, sometimes your hat patterns will tell you, we'll just measure the person's head and make a hat. This is a chart I found online of like the age group and about how wide the hat should be. But the second sheet has on it how to make like little pom-poms. If you want to put like a little pom-pom on the top of the hat. Like I said, I'm not sure how that will go over with the older crowd, but maybe on some of the younger ones, that would be cute. So this first part will just tell you how to make that little fleece pom-pom. And then the bottom part will tell you how to make the pigtails. And I've added in there on your sheets, somewhere between 8 to 11 inches long, about 1 inch wide and 3 per side. And so this would be that last link that's on your sheet that tells you how to do that. Okay. So if you guys are good, I'm good. I wanted to kind of hurry along tonight because I'm so excited to see Miss Kim show us how to do the crochet on her ear flaps. It's been a while since we've had a crochet demo. And so I was so excited that she said yes. Okay, Joanne Sherpa fleece. What was the question? Joanne Sherpa fleece, would it be okay for which hat? I didn't catch all of that.
Work in for the inside layer on the first pattern, or would it be too bulky?
Oh boy. On this.
It said, I was wondering if Joanne's Sherpa fleece, if in stock, would work for inside layer on the first pattern. Yes, that one.
Well, I make this a single layer. You can make it a double layer. And if you do, you would want to get your hands on that Sherpa and see if the Sherpa has stretch to it. I'm not familiar with it because I haven't bought it and I haven't used it, but you go to the store and make sure that it's got stretch, because we need stretch to get this one over the head so it fits the curve over your head and fits the curve in. Okay. And if it does have stretch, then I would say it would be fine to use it. But just that's the rule for this pattern for the balaclava, to make sure that your fleece is stretchy enough to go over the head. Okay. And that's why we weren't recommending the Luxe fleece, because the Luxe doesn't stretch. So you can make this a double. I think it'd be really, really warm. I think the one that might be good for is here. I'm trying to get my guy back. If you're going to use Sherpa, I think it would be awesome for this pattern. You can use Sherpa for the inside and then use fleece for the outside. This is the second one, the number 2 pattern that I just gave you the links for. I didn't make it tonight. but I think this would be cool for Sherpa. Yeah. So, yep. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. The Sherpa on number 2 sounds good, she said. And then
Okay.
Susie wanted to know what size sewing needle you suggest.
Well, I'm in a quandary with my needles right now. I put in a ballpoint 14 earlier today, and my machine was not liking it. But a 14 or a 90/14 is what I've been using on the Fleece. And I just got these at where are they? Hobby Lobby. It's Chrome Universal. They say they're professional. I don't know. Maybe using them makes me professional, but it says Chrome Professional Grade. And this is a universal needle and a size 14. And these work for me real well. Well, it's got a lot of light to it, doesn't it?
Chrome 14. Okay.
Yeah. But every machine is different. So like today I put in the knit one, and it just did not like it. It took about 3 inches, and then all of a sudden it just, and so it didn't like that needle. So I took that needle out and put one of these in, and it's been working like a dream. So you have to test your machine out and see what it likes and what it doesn't like. But I'd say either a universal or a knit, and a size 14 worked really great for me. Now, if you're using some of that Sherpa Plus Fleece to where you're getting some really thick seams, you might want to go up to a 16. Okay, but a 14 has done all of my double layer of fleece really well. Does that help? Yep.
Yes, we're good. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Kathy,
Now,
I have a question for you. I'm thinking about doing those balaclavas that you did first for the daycare kids.
oh, how cute.
I think it would be so easy for the kids who won't leave their hats on.
Yes.
How small is your smallest pattern?
It's a 3 to 5, 3 years to 5 years. Let me
Perfect.
see. Let me get it. I got so much stuff. No, that's mine. Where did it go? I was pretty sure it's a 3 to 5, and then there's a 6 to 10. So the difference between them, Kim, is you have the same pattern for this, but the difference between them is the width of this. So if it's a 3 to 5 or a 6 to 10, you're going to use the same one of these for both kids, except one of these is going to be smaller and one's going to be bigger. So it's this that makes it the difference in the kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, oh, where'd it go? That's printed on the pattern. Okay, here we come. Charmed by Ashley. That's printed on the pattern.
Okay.
They both use the same. This is the same for both of the kid sizes, except for the 3 to 5, you cut it 19 by 3 3/4, and the 6 to 10, that back inset panel, you cut it bigger. So that's your difference between the two sizes, is how big you cut that inset panel for the back.
Okay. Thank you.
Nope. Yep. Well, it has been just a really fun opportunity to be able to share all of these fleece sewing projects for this winter. And like I said before, we have done just an amazing job for all of our partner charities. And I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope you have as much fun making these fleece items as I have. And please, if you've got any question, Facebook me, private message me, email me, and I'll help out as best as I can for you, because I want you to be successful. And speaking of successful, that's a good segue, because this next presentation I've been looking forward to, because Kim has been so great to, at the last minute, to come in and going to demonstrate on how many crochet hats I've done. Maybe a couple hundred crochet hats. And when I get to the bottom, I always think, well, gee, I wish I could do something a little bit different. Well, this lady has found out how to do the different. So I want to turn it over to Kim to let her show you how she finishes the bottom of the hats. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this is the hat we're gonna do, but I'm gonna show you 3 different ones of them. This just looks like a curly Q, but really it's 30 strand long. So it really is made so that you can cover your ears up and get it nice and warm. Or if you didn't feel like it, you could do that. Or you could tie it up if you were wanting to do that as well. Except for this is a pretty one, so maybe you wouldn't. How is my sound? Can you hear me okay?
No, yeah, we can hear you great. Sorry, I was muted. We can hear you great.
And how is this? Can you see me from the above one?
I'm gonna remove this spotlight and move you to that spotlight. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Get in your hands. I have to find your hands. Where are they? Kim Damon's hands. There they are. All right.
Oh, perfect. You can see. Okay, so when I'm making a hat, I keep trying it, go back and forth between both pictures, but I keep trying it on my head. And when I know it's time to do this next step is when I have it long enough in front. I don't want to bring it down so far that it's going to be uncomfortable, but I want to get it, just the bottom of my ears is showing, but it's really, I go by the brow. And obviously all the ones I'm making are almost my size. Sometimes I make them a little bit bigger, but generally speaking, when I get down to that part in my hat where it's down to the brow, then I know I'm low enough. And I try not to go lower than that because that would be awkward. So I came back to the back. This you can see is where I've ended each time. And so that's where the pattern starts. So we're starting from the center and then we're going to work over to the side and we're going to do one thing down. We're going to come back down and go back to the center and then we're going to do the other side, if that makes sense. The pattern is on, I gave it to Kathy, so I think it's going to be put in the link somewhere in there. And I think it says do 22 single crochet stitches. The only deviation from that would be we're all doing different size hats. And basically, as you look at this hat, 20 brought me right about to here, and 22 went a little bit farther over. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't want to break it in half. I don't want that side flap to be exactly in the center on the side. I want it to be a little bit back from center. Always when you see a hat that has flaps on it, there's a little bit more room on the face than there is in the back. So that's why we go 20 over to the side and then 2 more to go a little bit towards the front, if that makes sense. So my hat is 22. Yours, you might look at it, you might lay it down flat and go, oh, I think I'm going to go a couple more, or I think I'm going to come back and do a couple less. So this is my center of my back, and I'm going to go 20 straight stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Everything else is going to go faster now. Okay, so that was 22 over. Is there anybody who's stitching along with me? If you need me to stop or slow down and go back, then just ask. Now we went 22 over, we're going to go 10 back. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we're going to flip it back around. And you can see that first row. Now you notice if you look at the pattern, it goes 10, 8, 6, 4. It goes down by 2 each time because I'm not going to do the extra stitch that you always do when you're going back. And I'm not going to end in that ditch. I'm going to stop shy. So it's going to become a triangle. So when I go back, I'm not going to start there, and I'm not going to add an extra stitch. I'm going to start there and do 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you know, if you were doing a straight line, which we always try to do, we're going to go in that spot, but we're not here. Now we're going to flip it around. And this time we're going to do 6, not going in that first hole and not adding the extra stitch. We're going to start right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flip it back over to do the number 4 row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flip it over and do 2, 1, 2. Flip it over, and this time I'm going to do the beginning of my chain stitch, and I'm going to do 30, which seems impossibly long, but when you come back down, it begins to spiral and it kind of shortens up the look of it a little bit. So here we go for our 30. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so we did a chain of 30, and then we're going to come back through, not on that first one, obviously, but right in there. And this is going to be straight stitches all the way down. So you don't really need to count on your way down. You're just coming back down that chain, catching every one. And it spirals on your own. You don't have to do anything like flipping it over. You just try to keep on one side and go all the way down. Also, it feels kind of flimsy when you first do that chain stitch, but when you come back down, it makes it all more sturdy feel. This is really utilitarian, even though it looks pretty like a little ringlet. When I did it in guys' colors, it really did have a more masculine look to it. So hopefully a guy would feel like, oh, that's warm, instead of it being feminine. Okay, now we've gotten down to that bottom part where I'm at that triangle. And I'm just gonna check here to see where I started, which is actually on this side. So I'm going to swivel over to this side to come down the triangle. And I'm just basically working my way down with single crochet stitches all the way down that side of the triangle, going wherever there's a nice hole. Because remember, I was skipping all those in that row. So there's a nice spot for me to come in each time. And it will be amazingly smooth looking by the time you get down that side. Okay, so this is the back of the hat. So the front of it is still going to be a little bit higher. That stopped on the brow where I wanted it to. And this is coming back down the back. We're doing that straight stitch across those 20 single stitches that we did. 22, sorry. It won't be 22 anymore though, because we have -10, so it should be about 12 there. But I'm just going to go back till I get to the center. Okay, that was my last one for the center. See, we're right in the middle of the back of the hat. And I'm going to do one chain stitch so that I can step down. And you'll notice that little bump right there. That's where we're going to end when we come back. But right now I need to start counting my 22 stitches to go towards the other side. So that was my first one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and I'm going to stop and go 10 back, skipping that first hole. Because remember, I'm making a triangle here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Coming back the other way. This is my 8 rows. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know how.
Can you silence your phone or something, Kim? Because it's
I
interrupting.
just tried to.
Okay.
Hopefully that won't happen again. Sorry. So that was 8. We're going to come back and do 6. 1, 2, 3. I think I just figured out how to do it. There. Hopefully that did it. 4, 5, 6. Come back around and we're going to do the number 4 row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come back around and do 2. Come back around and we're just going to go in 1, but that'll be the first of my 30 of the chain stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 30 and we'll come back down. It always seems impossibly long when I'm doing 30 of them, but that seems like the right length if you really want to tie it and have it be utilitarian. And not just for looks.
Kim,
Yep.
you know, that's really not that long to do that, because when you consider, like, I try to add a ribbing on the bottom of it, it takes me longer than that to do a nice ribbing.
It does. I am really slow when it comes to putting those on.
So this is just a real easy, cute way to do that, to get the finish on the bottom. Plus it gives it more coverage over the ears.
Yeah. Makes it warmer. If you're doing it for little children, you're going to make it so that they can keep it on.
Yeah, I like it.
And this could be a little bit, this hat could be a little bit too big, and that would keep it on the head. So it gives it a little bit more variation of size. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Especially if we're making them and giving them to our partner charities. You know, it's so hard for them to size up with what they're doing. So this could be for a multi-generational.
It really could go farther. Yeah.
The brother wear it and then hand it down. Yeah, I like it.
So this one that I'm doing is obviously one layer of the pudgy fabric, or sorry, the pudgy yarn. But I have brought 2 along that were done with 2 strands with thinner yarn. It's the exact same method. I don't know if anybody has been making the hats with a double layer.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are getting into the bulky because it goes fast. Now,
It does.
would bulky still twist like that?
This is bulky.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
This is the Bloom Chunky Big Bulky size 5 Premier.
Oh, yeah. That
I'm
bloom
not.
is nice. I got some of that at one point. Yeah.
There we go.
Cool.
And so we come right back to the center, and I'm at where that hump was, where I made that 1 chain stitch. I'm going to go in and pull it out the same as we would with any other one that we're going to end. And then I'll just tuck that in the way we would any other. There you go. Can tie. Or it can just sit there and be a cute little ringlet. This was made with the ombre.
Oh.
I really loved this one. When I'm doing the double layer for the ombre, I actually pull it out until I get the colors have the same pattern. Like first it was pink and blue and orange and blue. So I would pull it out and make a ball that always started with blue and would go in that direction. And then I would use 2 balls at the same time so I could keep my stripes clean. But that was my method of doing these.
Cool.
Let's see. This was, I used all of the gray and didn't have enough to make it to the bottom of the hat. And so I used the same kind of yarn. It's the Karen Simply Soft. And because it's the same kind of yarn, I had it doubled up here. I doubled it down here. And I just bought 2 more skeins. And I'm stitching this doubled with the 2 skeins. This one, I got it down. This is to the length where I put it on my head. It's stopping right where I want it to on my brow. So I know this is exactly where I want it to be. I've covered up part of my ears. That triangle is not meant to cover all your ears, just the bottom part, if that makes sense, that the hat still needs to go the full way down. And this one I'm also doing, this was another one of the ombre, but I'm also doing it double, 2 strands. And for this one, I just pulled the center out, it came out in a ball, and I had 1 strand coming from the ball and the other strand coming from this. I used up all the ball, and now one of the strands is coming from the center and 1 from the outside. And I stitch until I get both sides done.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks so much, everybody, for attending tonight's Sip and Sew and bonus crochet, which was amazing and awesome. So I want to thank everybody for your participation and attending. And we'll hopefully see everybody next time. Thanks so much.